Happy Halloween! It is finally October, my favourite month of the year, and yes, I will be spending it reading an enormous stack of horror novels. I'm gonna be a walking, talking, spooky season cliche, and I do not care. I will love every second of it. Let me know in the comments what you're reading this October and how you're spending your Halloween. And if you are a big horror fan, maybe check out my collection of queer horror stories, Managing and Other Lies. If you're adding my book to your scary stack of spooky season reads, let me know. This stack of books is entirely horror themed. It includes a few books that I'm rereading, a good handful of books I've never read before, and also a few brand new horror novels. And why don't we start off with something brand new? This is Cold Snap by Lindy Ryan. This copy was sent to me by Titan Books, and the book is out in October. At least here in the UK. 2 weeks ago, Christine Sinclair's husband slipped off the roof while hanging Christmas lights and fell to his death on the front lawn. Desperate to escape her guilt and her grief, Christine packs up her 15-year-old son and the family cat and flees to the cabin they've reserved deep in the remote Pennsylvania wilds to wait out the holidays. It isn't long before Christine begins to hear strange noises coming from the forest. When she spots a horned figure watching from between frozen branches, Christine assumes it's just a forest animal, a moose maybe, since the property manager warned her about them. Said they would stomp a body so deep into the snow nobody would find it till spring. But moose don't walk upright like the shadowy figure does. They don't call Christine's name with her dead husband's voice. That sounds wonderfully menacing, and this book is also super short. It's only 120 pages long, so I'll be putting a day aside to read this, and I am very, very excited. Just the other day, I went to a vintage book fair here in Glasgow. This book fair is at the Botanical Gardens in the West End. It only happens once a month. Quite often I do miss it, and I made a very conscious effort not to miss it this time. And while I was there, I picked up Dolores Claiborne by Stephen King. Now, I have never read this before. I've only ever read about 5 Stephen King books. I am gently making my way through all of his bigger books, and 2 things made me want to pick up and read this book. 1, my friend Adam, who is a colossal Stephen King fan, loves this thing. And 2, there is a film adaptation of this starring Kathy Bates. Now, I don't know if I've ever mentioned this before on this channel, but I am obsessed with Kathy Bates. She is one of my favorite people in the entire world, one of my favorite actors. I love that woman so much. She is a queen, and I've not seen that film adaptation, so I'm gonna read the book, I'm gonna watch the film, and I might do a video comparing the two. That sounds like fun. This copy also happens to be exactly as old as I am. It cost me £2, and this is what the blurb says. Dolores Claiborne has a story to tell, but not quite what the police had expected. Dolores Claiborne has a confession to make. She will take her time, won't be hurried, will do it her way, sparing neither details nor feelings, hers or anyone else's. This is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Truth that takes you to the edge of darkness. Dolores Claiborne has a story to tell, and you'd better pay attention, or else. Another new book that I'm excited to check out is More Bugs by M. Reed. This copy was sent to me by the publisher Knight Errant Press, who are friends of mine here in Scotland. And this cover is absolutely revolting in the best possible way. Dumped, broke, and stranded at her mother's house, Amy has few options for escape. Hanging out with her ex comes with getting to know his new girlfriend, someone who looks suspiciously like Amy's younger, straighter doppelganger. Strapped for cash and desperate to be out of her mother's home, she ends up babysitting the UFO-obsessed kids of the hot working mum down the street. Over a dull, torrid summer in the Pennsylvania suburbs, strange lights linger on the horizon, and subterranean connections reach out their tendrils in the dark, signaling another otherworldly possibility. Awesome. Since falling head over heels in love with the works of Andrew Joseph White, I thought it would be fun to check out a lot more YA horror fiction, and so I picked these up. These are 3 young adult horror novels that all feel like they fall into the slasher genre. We've got You're Not Supposed to Die Tonight by Calin Bayron, which is a fantastic title. Clown in a Cornfield by Adam Césaire, which is another amazing title. And How to Survive a Horror Movie by Scarlett Dunmore, which has a really satisfying cover. These 3 books all look like a lot of fun, and Clown in a Cornfield even got praise from Clive Barker himself. I think I'm going to read all 3 of these books in a row and then maybe do a video on YA horror, as long as I actually enjoy them all. An absolute classic that I'm planning to reread this month is The Haunting of Hill House by Shirley Jackson. Shirley Jackson's works have had an immeasurable impact on me, my writing, the things that I love. Her style of horror fiction and haunted house fiction very much inspired the title story in my book, Managing. After I finished writing and editing Managing, I realized that it felt like Shirley Jackson meets Franz Kafka. That's the level of impact that she has had on me, and it's time to revisit The Haunting of Hill House. Also, if I find time, I'm also tempted to rewatch Mike Flanagan's TV adaptation, and I know that Mike Flanagan's show has absolutely nothing to do with the book except for the fact that it shares the title and some of the character names. I think that's about it. But Mike Flanagan's Haunting of Hill House is still fantastic, and I feel like I bring him up a lot on this channel, but I am a diehard fan of Mike Flanagan, so that's probably why. And one of my favorite things about The Haunting of Hill House, about all of Jackson's works, is that it's short. She wrote a lot of short stories, and her novels are also short, or at least the 2 that I've read, this and We Have Always Lived in the Castle. They're both around 200 pages long, they're easy to read, but they are full of depth and character and nuance. And this is a truly chilling book for multiple reasons, and I'll probably make a dedicated video when I'm done rereading it. Another brand new book that's being published in October is William by Mason Coyle. This is being published by Baskerville, who sent me this copy. I've never read the works of Mason Coyle before, but I love the title, the minimalism of it, and the minimalism of the cover as well. This is so tantalizing. There's something strange about William. It's not that his skin feels like balloon rubber and is the color of curdled milk, nor is it his thick, gurgling laugh or the way his tongue curls toward his crooked top teeth. It is the way he looks at Henry's wife, Lily. Henry created William, but he is starting to lose control of him. As William's fixation with Lily grows and threatens to bring harm to their house, Henry has no choice but to destroy William. But William isn't gone. He lurks behind each locked door. You can hear him muttering in the eaves of the attic. He is whispering in Henry's head, and he will be the one to take control. At first, this sounds like a Frankenstein-esque book, or a work of science fiction and William is a robot. And then right at the end, it sounds like a Jekyll and Hyde situation. I have no idea, and I can't wait to find out. This is another short book as well. It's also 200 pages, so I'm really hoping, because most of the books here are pretty short, I really think I can get through them all this month. Fingers crossed. A book that's been on my TBR for absolutely ages is Alice by Christina Henry. This book has been on my TBR so long that the publisher just released an anniversary hardcover edition. And I actually picked this up at that same book fair where I got Dolores Claiborne like 6 months ago? 9 months? A good while ago. Well, it's Halloween and I'm finally ready to read it. In a warren of crumbling buildings and desperate people called the Old City, there stands a hospital with cinder block walls which echo with the screams of the poor souls inside. In the hospital, there is a woman. Her hair, once blonde, hangs in tangles down her back. She doesn't remember why she's in such a terrible place. Just a tea party long ago, and long ears and blood. Then, one night, a fire at the hospital gives the woman a chance to escape, tumbling out of the hole that imprisoned her, leaving her free to uncover the truth about what happened to her all those years ago. Only something else has escaped with her. Something dark, something powerful. And to find the truth, she will have to track this beast to the very heart of the Old City, where the rabbit waits for his Alice. Ooh. I was a little skeptical about this at first. I picked it up for like £1 and I don't think it's ever been read. But the reason I was skeptical is because we've had mature Alice in Wonderland sequels and retellings in various different formats, in film and video games. There was that PS3 game, Alice Madness Returns by American McGee. I think that's what it was called. American McGee is a funny guy. Like, that's his actual name. His name is American McGee. He made a few creepy, weird video games, including Alice Madness Returns. He lives in Shanghai, and I always hoped I'd bump into him back when I lived there. And he also now designs these. These are plushie Dreadfuls. People ask me about these quite a lot. Plushie Dreadfuls are absolutely adorable. Each one is based off a mental illness or a form of neurodivergence, that kind of thing. This one is obviously gender dysphoria. And this was made by the guy who made Alice Madness Returns. Interesting fella. So for that reason, another mature adaptation of the Alice in Wonderland story where she's in a mental institute, and I don't know, I was skeptical, but I'm going to enjoy it. I have a good feeling about it. I'm ready to read it now. A brand new book that I picked up the very day that it came out is Graveyard Shift by M.L. Rio. This book came out on the same day as the new Sally Rooney, and it was at that moment I realized I did not care about Sally Rooney anymore. Graveyard Shift is the long-awaited second book by M.L. Rio, author of If We Were Villains, and If We Were Villains is in my top 5 favorite books of all time. I love that thing so much. It's a wonderful work of Shakespeare-inspired dark academia, and now we have this. It's only 100 pages long. It takes place over a single night, and it follows a group of people who all work or study on the grounds or near the grounds of a university. And the only thing they have in common is the fact that for one reason or another, they're often up late at night. They all go out for a smoke break and they meet up at the local cemetery. According to the blurb, one night there is a fresh grave that has been dug in the cemetery, and they want to figure out who dug it and why. Again, this is only 100 pages long, it's a novella, and we finally have something new from M.L. Rio. I am so thrilled about this. Another brand new book that I picked up the second I was able to is The Impusium. I guess that's how it's pronounced. This is the brand new Olga Tokarczuk novel. Olga Tokarczuk is one of my favorite authors. Her novels, Flights and Drive Your Plow Over the Bones of the Dead, are both complete masterpieces. After those books were published in English translation, she also won the Nobel Prize for Literature. She is a hero of Polish fiction, and this is her new novel. I never read her Books of Jacob, by the way, because that thing is like 1,200 pages long, and I knew I would just never find the time for it. This thing, however, is a reasonable length. Its subtitle is A Health Resort Horror Story, and once again, because it's been published by Fitzcarraldo Editions, they have not put the author on the cover because they never do that, and it's very irritating. Like Drive Your Plow, however, this was translated by Antonia Lloyd-Jones, who is an incredible Polish to English translator, and I'm very excited that this is a horror story written by Olga Tokarczuk. I might do a dedicated review of this, that's how excited I am about it. Crystal Lake Publishing, great name by the way, sent me a copy of this, The Medusa Psalms. This is a collection of stories by Kyle Toucher? Touche? Dunno. And as far as I understand, all these stories are set around one place and time. And here's the blurb. Welcome to Walpurgis County, where the line between reality and nightmare blurs, and every shadow hides a darker truth. Kyle Toucher invites you on a chilling journey through 10 stories and 2 novellas that unveil the grim history and malevolent folklore of America's most cursed terrain. From haunted mountains to deranged cults, from cosmic horror to ancestral vendettas, each tale plunges you deeper into a realm where monsters roam freely and secrets fester in the blood-soaked soil. Cool. Another book that's been sitting on my TBR for quite a while, and I remember picking this up at Lighthouse Books in Edinburgh a few months ago, is My Darling Dreadful Thing. This was written by Dutch author Joanna van Veen, and I can't find a translator mentioned here, so I'm guessing she wrote it in English. And it sounds like a wonderful gothic horror romance. I'm really hoping it has those brilliant gothic vibes. Ruse Beckman has a spirit companion only she can see, Ruth. Strange, corpse-like, and dead for centuries is the light of Ruse's life. That is, until the wealthy young widow Agnes Noop visits one of Ruse's backroom seances and the two strike up a connection. Soon, Ruse is whisked away to the crumbling estate Agnes inherited upon the death of her husband, where an ill woman haunts the halls, strange smells drift through the air at night, and mysterious stone statues reside in the family chapel. Something dreadful festers in the manor, but still the attraction between Ruse and Agnes is undeniable. Then, someone is murdered. Poor, alone, and with a history of hysterics, Ruse is the obvious culprit. With her sanity and innocence in question, she'll have to prove who or what is at fault or lose everything she holds dear. Like I said, I've had this for a while and I'm finally ready to tuck in. And finally, something else I really want to reread this month is Alan Moore's Swamp Thing. I love the works of Alan Moore. He's one of the great writers of not just comic books, but fiction in general. I have a real soft spot for Swamp Thing, and his Swamp Thing comic is a complete masterpiece. But I have to confess, there are 5 or 6 volumes of this thing, and I only ever read the first 2. So my plan is to reread this and the second volume, maybe, and then finally keep going and actually collect the whole series. Alan Moore's Swamp Thing is phenomenal. It's an incredible work of gothic monster horror. It is gorgeously drawn, such a beautiful, I think 80s comic. I think this came out in the 80s, and I'm so excited to finally read it again. If you made it to the end of the video, thank you, and I'm gonna do this a little bit more earnestly than I usually do. I would really appreciate your support on Patreon. My channel, my job, my entire life only exists, is only possible because of the support of my patrons. Recently, I've lost a few supporters. This is just something that happens. Patreon is a fluctuating thing. In a single month, a few people realize that they can't financially support me anymore. All of their support goes away and I start to get a bit nervous. This happens every few months. And so I am asking, if you enjoyed this video, if you enjoy the work I put out, if you think I'm good at my job, if you think that I and my channel are worth supporting, please throw me $1 a month or $3 a month, whatever you can afford. If every single person who watched this video signed up to my Patreon with just $1 a month, I'd never have to worry about money for the foreseeable future. I know that's not how it works. I know I'm always asking a lot when I do this, but I put out the best content that I can. YouTube is not generous with ad revenue at all, and with Patreon support, I don't have to stress about the algorithm as much as I do on a daily basis. So if you like my content and you can afford $1 a month, you don't know how much it helps. It is insane how much it helps, because $1 from a few hundred people is a few $100s, and that pays my rent. Thank you in advance, and subscribe for books.